you're like me or a longtime subscriber of the channel, you clicked on this video wondering who does this guy think he is in the year 2024, washing his ass back up on shore for another custom LEGO minifigure showcase video after about 700,000 years to continue the long-anticipated, I think that's putting it mildly, custom LEGO Spider-Man No Way Home project, of course with our first villain, Green Goblin, as he appeared in Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man trilogy, because No Way Home gave me the excuse to finally whip out one hell of a cool-ass kit by Shamrock Minifigures, who actually made this for me personally way back in 2022. Yeah, 2022, but we play the long game here at MGF Customs, and even though, you know, the universe might enter heat death by the time I finish my projects, I can at least guarantee that it's gonna be cool if and when, or I should say when, it does happen. Like today, we're showcasing Green Goblin, who, by the way, I finished this mother like, I don't know, earlier toward the beginning of the year, and just like never showcased his ass. So patrons got to see this one, I think, like a record amount of time early. Huge thanks to them for remembering that I still exist. It means a lot. And all of you guys who clicked on this for remembering that I still exist. Hopefully we can make it worth it and have a good time here today. And if you think you've seen the whole figure looking at just this frame, you haven't seen the glider, you haven't seen the cool-ass stand, you haven't seen the Norman Goblin, the Norman Osborn head. There's all kinds of stuff that we're going to cover today. Shouldn't be too long of a showcase, though, so I hope you stick around. If not, see ya. All right, let's get started. All right, I guess to you guys, this is a new figure that I only showed like literally one picture of publicly. To me, he's a fossil, but he's a pretty damn good-looking fossil that was only made possible by Shamrock Minifigures and Input Brick, because this is a Green Goblin helmet from Input Brick from like 21, 22 that I've been hanging on to ever since. But really, Shamrock Minifigures went out of his way to make me an entirely new Green Goblin kit using 3D parts and a combination of official LEGO parts that he then attached them onto and primed himself. And it required a whole crazy preparation process for both the minifigure itself and then also the glider. I changed primers. I went through so many different cans. It was a whole ordeal, but eventually I got the chance to paint this guy. And, you know, the torso was not hard. The arms were, well, to be honest, the arms were a real pain in the ass because I had to keep the lines looking consistent, going and passing through those armor pieces and keeping those arms looking straight, going all the way around. I remember that was time consuming as hell, stacking these lines. And as an artist, I hate repetition. So stacking lines, especially tough to see metallic green lines, really unpleasant and not an enjoyable thing to do. And the unpleasantries only really continued around the legs, where of course you can see I had a very redundant design to continue, which I don't even remember how I painted all of that. It's been a good minute, but I really love all the detail, especially around the edges of the boots. But I do remember that it was really hard to wrap all these designs around all four sides of the minifigure's legs, especially this time because all these different metallic green thick lines coming in at different angles and different slants. It was quite annoying and quite repetitive, and I really hate repetition. But with these Spider-Man customs, I really have not been able to escape it, and hopefully now moving on with like Doc Ock and Electro and Endgame customs like Iron Patriot and so on, I can escape some redundant designs, because after all the webbing in 2022, I feel like a LEGO minifig customizer war veteran that still hasn't recovered, and so having to paint Green Goblin and all these redundant designs was not fun. There are all kinds of cool things I could point out on the figure, like the texturing that you might have missed on the legs down there, or even that Shamrock has the arms being magnetic to allow for easier and smoother movement and less friction, which is amazing and something that I wish that I had the patience to do on every single one of my customs, but I don't. And you can see here we've got two pumpkin bombs. You know, I honestly didn't really plan this out too well, so I guess we're just adjusting focus as we go. But Shamrock has these outstanding custom pumpkin bombs that I realized I didn't paint entirely right. Like, there's supposed to be separations between the middle green line, but also I don't care. So there's that, and you can see we have the little grip spot right there, and this is a bit of a catch-22 because while they are really easy to put onto a minifigure hand, which is an amazing bit from Shamrock Minifigures, the only issue there is obviously, as you might notice, I have a Green Goblin minifigure that does have custom painted hands, and so that can become a little bit of an issue, and so I really only just barely rest them on top of the hands so they don't interfere with the painting that I did on the hands there. And so far so good, but if you see a little bit of chipping on the hands that maybe I don't, you know, I don't care. I do want to mention that like every color on this minifigure, all the greens, and all the orange on the pumpkin bombs were all mixed colors. So before you go looking around, like, hey, what were those colors? I had to mix all of them. I mix a lot of custom colors on my figures now, and have honestly for the last like 5 or 6 years. So a while back on the channel, you might have seen a short from me of a really awesome custom-made Green Goblin, not mine, but one by Phoenix Customs and Calor Project. I think it was designed by Adam at Phoenix and then produced by Calor. And so that one came with a really awesome pad printed Green Goblin likeness of Willem Dafoe that I've been excited to use ever since on my own custom minifigure here, now supplied with a custom hairpiece by Firestar Toys that I did paint myself. And then we also have the alternative facial expression, the be a son to me moment from Dr. Osborn's final moments before the glider takes his ass out. And I've been excited to use this head for a while now, and as soon as I painted that hairpiece, I was like, we nailed it, bro! Thanks to Adam for this one and Calor Project. It was a cool figure, but I was still thrilled to make my own custom and use this head on it. Alright, man, so painting the glider wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. By the way, just an outstanding piece by Shamrock Minifigures. The whole underside wound up being really easy because a lot of it is just metallic silvers. It was the top, which was a little bit more involved with the metallic purple paint that I think might have been a mix or maybe not, but just really trying to go my own way with it and go with my own spin as far as like the color mixing and the weathering, because I wanted to get a mix of good, a good balance of gunmetal and silver and that metallic purple in there. So it's not entirely accurate, but that's also by design, especially on the underside. I added a lot of green detail for extra lights in all kinds of different places where they definitely do not exist on the real glider, but it just looks so freaking cool, and I wanted to make sure that it just really looked like it was alive with green lights down there, and so I just painted green dots pretty much everywhere, and so I hope the effect was kind of achieved there. But obviously, as you can see, the glider is attached to this really cool couple of like push pin ends. You can kind of see them there. They're just like literally super sharp ass, just, push pin bits. And then the glider actually that has the slots on the backs of the engines, and they slot perfectly back into those pins, and it's just really remarkable. That's not something you can necessarily achieve so easily with 3D printing, and so Shamrock did a lot of this work manually by hand, which is again why I'm super grateful for it. I'm using a ton of sticky tack on the bottom of this thing because it doesn't stand up too well, but on a shelf it stands up just fine, but when you move it around he definitely topples over on this glider. But I also painted that chimney integrated with a bunch of smoke, and as you can see, that smokestack was really kind of cool, and I wanted to make it look darker toward the bottom and then lighter as you moved up toward those engines, and I think I generally achieved that effect. But overall it definitely looks like smoke. I used a bunch of different shades to achieve that all over that entire section, including the chimney, and had to mix to get those brick colors and everything. But this was just such a joy to finally see come together as the definitive Green Goblin package, and I'd like to again thank Shamrock Minifigures for making all of this possible. And before we wrap up, I want to show you all kinds of alternative extra parts that I have in reserve for if and when I want to add to this minifigure that I did not use here or quite yet, but I want to show you anyway. So you can see why I wanted to give a whole segment to this part of the video, because as you can see, I have this really awesome custom Green Goblin helmet, not by Input Brick in this case, but actually Shamrock himself. This was the default helmet that came with it, and while it's not my favorite design in the world, I thought it was really cool and worth showing. I understand that I think even now he realizes that it was a little bit of an outdated design, but what I liked about it, sorry if I'm up in the camera there, you can see is there is an opening that allows you to do a little mesh pattern. So if you want to get really ambitious, like I definitely didn't, and go in there with netting and stuff, he had that as an option. I think Chris over at McLovin on Instagram did that with his kit a long time ago. But we also have the bent legs back here with an extra belt piece, and those are of course if you want to get Goblin in the proper gliding pose, which my figure is not in, and you also get separate foot pedals for that pose, and that's what those extra slots that you might have noticed on the glider are for, or for that wider stance if you painted these legs, which I did not, because I would have wanted to paint them super hyper detailed just like the main legs that I did paint. Just for consistency's sake, I wouldn't be okay with a set of under detailed legs just to swap out for a pose. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. And so I also had these little wired pieces with these like birds attached to them. I was very confused. I didn't know what these were at first, and I had to look at Chris over at McLovin on his kit on Instagram again and be like, oh, these are actual little birds on like some little pieces of bendy wire, and it's like a little bit difficult to get to focus, but you can put these in the chimney and attach them into the sides of the chimney and then wrap them around to have little birds flying out of the back of this chimney over here. That's what these are for, and I thought that was so cool and just such a fun, passionate little detail. And then we also have this hairpiece, this Norman Osborn hairpiece, which I did paint but opted not to use. This one actually has a shade effect on it, and so you can kind of decide for yourself which hairpiece is better. While I like this one a lot, I still opted for the Firestar one, but this is an excellent alternative. And if we go ahead and flip the face around, there is that alternative facial expression with the alternate hairpiece on there. So you can let me know what you think of that below. But with this wealth of additional accessories and all the possibilities that came with Shamrock's super limited custom kits, I wanted to make sure that you kind of saw the full offering of just how far I actually could have taken this. But because I did want to move on with my life, I opted not to, but I still wanted to make sure that you saw the amount of work Shamrock put into this kit at the time. And this is like over 2 years ago at this point, I think. So, I mean, but I don't really care how much time has passed. I think the work and the passion is worth acknowledging in the video. So there you go. Don't tell Harry. Whatever life holds in store for me. Actually, tell him he's a little bitch. As I was saying, whatever. And I wish you were my son instead. I will never forget these words. And don't smack Mary Jane in the next movie, alright? Whatever life holds in store for me. You know, Dr. Osborn, I swear to God, I'm something of a scientist. Alright, that's it. You know, I'm kind of done with these outros. I don't really like doing them anymore. If you want to see the customs way ahead of time, I always post my progress whenever I've got it over on Patreon first. I mean, like, this is a record this time for how early they got to see it versus the channel. Like, we're talking like, I don't know, 8 months or something like that this time. So, holy shit. Yeah, dude, I'm on X, Instagram, all those places. Just type in MGF Customs. You can literally Google LEGO MGF. I think you know what's up. I post all kinds of cool stuff. I'm kind of tired of saying it at this point. I've been doing this for most of my life. I think you get the idea. So I'm just gonna go, what time is it? Okay, I was gonna say I'm gonna go to bed, but it's not time for bed. I'm gonna keep filming other parts of this video because I don't do it in order. I'm gonna go. See ya. Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. Ciao. Keep creating, by the way. We need more people making cool things when people like MFG Customs aren't. Alright, see ya. We have a new world to conquer. Conquer? You know there are like 8 billion people on this world too, right? So what? You're a god. No, I'm one goblin. The f*** do you expect me to do? Kill the president. I don't know. We fought Peter Parker like a couple of times and died. You're weak. Oscorp doesn't even exist here, and I got a couple of pumpkin bombs from a washed-up YouTuber and a broken glider. Excuses. And I just saw some wingnut with a lightning hammer fly by up there. What were you gonna do about that? Not my problem. Yeah, coward, huh? At least I'm not a moron. F*** you, Norman. Yeah, f*** you too. Me, f*** you. And this is the one that I always wanted to make since I really started on YouTube, and I had the perfect... Oh, and my entire lab is behind the mirror in the penthouse. Hey, Osborn, big fan of your work in other timelines, but this is my house. Or Facebook, you know, is that what it's called? I'm old. Bye!